Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic. Today we're going to take a look at a viewer requested puzzle. This came to us by email. Our email is crackingthecryptic@gmail.com, and it came all the way from Taiwan. I don't know how many viewers we have in Taiwan, but it's really nice to know that we have any. This is the wonders of the internet. The viewer in question says that this puzzle's been giving them a lot of trouble, and apparently it comes from this book. So you can see this looks to me like a Japanese puzzle book, and apparently it's number 16 in that book. So if this is turns out to be a good puzzle, then you can see the ISBN number there, and you can go and find the book for yourself. But one of the reasons that I enjoy, I suppose, Japanese Sudoku puzzles is they tend to have they come from a different culture so far as puzzles is concerned. So some of you newer to the channel may not be aware that in Japan most Sudoku puzzles are actually handcrafted. They are not created by computer, and that tends to mean that they have I think a different feel when you're solving them. The setter very often has designed the puzzle to be solved in a very particular way to allow you to find particular pieces of logic and enjoy them, whereas in the West we tend to make do, I think, with computer generated puzzles that are tested by way of algorithms. Now some of the algorithms are very good and they still allow for an enjoyable solving experience, but an awful lot of the algorithms in my view are not fit for purpose, and whether you get a good Sudoku at the end of the day is almost a random thing. So, without further ado, let's have a look at this puzzle. Now, I have to also confess that when I saw this puzzle, I did notice something immediately which made me want to do a video on it, and that's that if you just stare at the grid here, we can make quite a nice deduction in this bottom right-hand corner, right at the beginning. And you can see here we have the numbers 2, 3 and 4 in column 7, and the numbers 2, 3 and 4 in row 7, and look at the way they interact on this block. You can see that they force these three numbers into these three squares, so immediately straight off the bat there's a triple down here, and it's things like that that I'm sure is an intended piece of the solving of this particular puzzle. And in fact I've just noticed now, look at 7 and 9 as well, 7 and 9 on this block, 7 9 here, and 7 9 in the column, so there's a 7 9 pair there as well. Now okay, well what I think we should do now though is we're going to go back to normal notation. What do I mean by normal notation? Well, we've christened it Snyder notation after Thomas Snyder, and it is and I'll explain what it is in a moment, but the reason I want to use it, and I always use it on any Sudoku puzzle in the early stages, is because it is efficient. So we get quite a lot of videos, or not videos, but puzzles requested where people send where they have got to in the solve and said, I've got stuck at this particular point, can you help me? And I despair sometimes, because it's clear that the technique that's being used is not Snyder, or it's not efficient. What it is writing into every single cell all the possibilities. Now that can help you at the late stages of solving very, very difficult puzzles, but when you're solving anything remotely normal, you should never ever start from that. You should always be doing what I'm about to show you now, which is, for example, if we look at this 3x3 block, where can a 3 go? Well, it can only go in 2 positions. Now where a number can only go in 2 positions, we make little pencil marks to record that fact, and we proceed with the solve from there. And this, in my opinion, but it's an opinion that comes, I suppose, with a lot of experience with Sudoku and a lot of experience of what the very best Sudoku solvers do when they solve Sudoku. This is what we all do. So let's carry on making pencil marks like that. You may say, well, you haven't done it down here with this triple. You're quite right. There are exceptions to every rule. But I hope you'll understand why I have recorded that, because it is such a nice find early on. 5 here, 5 here, so this square has to be a 5. There's no 1s at all in this grid, I've just noticed that. How bizarre. Okay, well, we'll have to make do without 1s. We have an 8 here and an 8 here, so this square must be an 8. And therefore this square is an 8. Oh, and this square is an 8. And this square is an 8. And I think this square. So now there are no 1s. Oh, didn't mean to put that there. There are no 1s in the grid, but there are a complete set of 8s. I think we've done all the 8s. And what we should probably do now is to be a bit more rigorous about making pencil marks. So let's have a look at particular numbers. So it's weird actually. One thing I am noticing is that even though we've spotted this triple and this pair, it's not. I suppose I can use this on the 7s in this block. I was about to say I couldn't see how to really get a number from there. I can pencil mark 7s here, and I've pencil marked 9s. But I can see that we have a 7 here and a 7 here, so the 7 in this 3x3 block is locked into one of those two positions. And that means this is the only place a 7 can go, in the bottom left 3x3. And that gives us a 7 here as well. And that resolves the 7 and the 9. Okay, is that useful? Might be. Let's 9's in there. We need 1, 5 and 6. We're going to get our first 1 here. We need 1, 5 and 6 across this row. And here we have a 5 and a 6 in the column. So that must be a 1. And you can see we've got 5 in column 9. So this is a 6 and this is a 5. 6. And that gives us a 6-3 pair at the top because of the 6 here and the 6 here. And that means these two must be 2 and 4, and there's a 2 here, so 2, 4, 3. And we've made good progress here actually already. This must be a 4. Pencil mark the 4s. Let's try and be diligent about it. And we need 1 and 5 to complete these 3x3 blocks. So I'm going to notate that. 1, 2 and so this is a 1 or a 5 as well. There's only one place 2 can go in row 1 because of the 2 here. So let's put that in. 2, 2. This 2 here finally allows us to make some progress with the triple we spotted very early on. And you can see we have a 3, 4 here and a 3, 4 here now. So this is really nice. There's a 3, 4 pair into these two squares, and the 3 over on the left hand side resolves that order. So I think it feels anyway like we're right on track with what the setter of this puzzle wanted us to see, because it's going very, very smoothly. And this must be a 3 here because of the 3s, and this 3. 4. Now we can resolve these 4 pencil marks. Let's do that. Place our pencil mark 4s down on the left hand side there. It's been going so well that I sort of feel like I'm likely to be missing some important steps. So 2, 3, 5, 4, 1, 5, 6 down column 4 here. So this is a 1 or a 6, this is a 1, 5 or 6. And probably in a minute I need to start going back to pencil marking properly again. 9, 4, 4, 5, 5. Come on, Simon. And 1, 2 and 6 down the central column as well. So there's only one place a 2 can go in the central column. That's here because of this 2 and this 2. And that means there's a 2 here and a 4 here. Obviously, one of the advantages of pencil marks is as soon as you manage to disprove one of the pencil marks for a number, you know the other one must be true. And that allows you sometimes to make some very swift progress during a puzzle. So, okay, so there we go. We've resolved this, all of this triple now. The 3 here means that this is a 3. That resolves our 3, 6 at the top. We need a 1 and a 9 into this bottom 3 by 3. I can't see immediately how to resolve that. 1, 6, 9 in here, so 6's could be pencil marked here. Obviously this is a 1 or a 9. Again, I can't see how to resolve that, so let's carry on. Now, okay, I have spotted something that might be useful. It might not be necessary. It's more complicated than I thought this puzzle was going to be, but let me just give this a quick stare to see if I can see anything easier. Otherwise, I'll come back and talk about it. And it's something that if you watch my video at the weekend, which was on an extreme puzzle that involved skyscrapers, empty rectangles, X-wings, all sorts of very exotic techniques. One of the things I talked about in that video, and it's an extremely important piece of, I suppose, advanced Sudoku solving technique, is that we need to try and keep a mental map as we're solving of numbers that can only go in 2 positions in rows and columns. So with our Snyder notation, for example with the 6 here, we're recording where a number can only go in 2 places within a 3 by 3 block. We're not talking about the whole of columns or the whole of rows here. Now if we look along row 1, you can see that the number 1 can only go in 2 positions. Now when we see this, we have to, or we might have to, use that to our advantage, because if we can find other rows that have a similar restriction on the 1s, that can be important. Even if the 1 is only in the same position in 1 column, it can still matter. But here we actually do better than that. Let's have a look at row 6 of the grid. You can see I'm going to just pencil mark all of these 1s into these particular rows. We have this pattern of 1s here, where the 1s can only go in 2 positions, and they only go, and they're in exactly the same column. This arrangement, as many of you follow the channel will know, is called an X-wing. It's called an X-wing because the pattern that the 1s will form in the finished solution forms the edges of an X, i.e. if this proves to be the real 1 in the finished solution, obviously this cannot be a 1 then, and this will be a 1. So we'll have an X shape like this. If, on the other hand, and there's only one other situation, it's sort of a binary outcome, if this is not the 1, then we must have a 1 in this square. Therefore this won't be a 1, and this will be a 1. And this forms the other sort of line in the X shape. So we get this X shape of where we know that the 1s will either be this way or this way. And this matters because that means that when we look at column 6 and column 7, there cannot be any other 1s in these 2 columns. It's impossible. So for example, if we were to try and say that this square here was a 1, that's going to break the puzzle, because now I can't put a 1 in either this position or this position. But the logic of what we've found so far means there would have to be a 1 here and a 1 here. We get a repeated 1 in column 6. So we know, once we've found this X pattern, that we can eliminate the possibility of 1s in this square, this square, this square, this square, this square, and this square. And that's hugely important. And I'm quite sure this is deliberate on the setter's part, because we saw at the very start of I remarked on the fact there were no 1s in the grid. So there were, and in fact, I think that even at this point in the solve, I've only managed to find 1, 1. All the other ones are sort of, you know, we don't really know where they go. But this X-wing, all of a sudden, we can make progress with. The fact there can't be a 1 here or here means there must be a 1 in one of those 2 positions in this 3 by 3 block. Ditto, when we look at this 3 by 3 block, the fact there can't be a 1 here or here means there must be a 1 in one of those two positions. And in fact, the fact there's a 1 here or here, you can immediately see this is going to, I think, crack the puzzle, because now this can only be a 9. That gives us a 9 here. Pencil mark 1s into one of these two squares. This square here is going to have to be a 1. Let's look at these two squares now. So what have we got into these two squares? 2 and 9, I think. And there's a 2 here, so the 2 must go into that square. This is going to have to be a 9. We need 1 and 6 to complete the bottom 3x3 block. Let's put that in there. We still need to place a 6 along here. We have a 6 and a 6, so this is going to have to be a 6. And again, I'm going to be able to go 6, 7, 1 immediately, just unwinding the earlier pencil marks. Now what can we do? We can put 7s into those two squares. See, the 7s form an X-wing here as well, this time on the columns, because the 7s are locked into the same row positions, and they can only be like this. But this X-wing, I think, is less valuable because we have so many 7s already in the grid that actually it doesn't provide us with any additional information. Right, let's try and finish this off now. 1, 5, 6, 1, 6. Just what's staring me in the face probably would be the place to look. 9 there, so we need 1 and 5 to complete these two squares now. 5 like that. And I'm tempted just to go to full pencil marking in order to do this quickly. 1, 5, 9 down here, so this is a 1 or a 5, this must be a 9. 1, 5 and 6 across here, is that right? So this is a 1 or a 6, this must be a 5. You can see immediately that's going to finish the puzzle off. So I hope that you got as much pleasure as I did out of this solve. Actually, I really enjoy these puzzles where it seems clear to me anyway that there is a sort of intended solution path that we're meant to find, and this is a great example. So thank you very much to Jimmy for sending it in to us from Taiwan. I enjoyed it, I hope it made a good video, and we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe, we really do appreciate that, and see you soon.